My stepsister is telling my whole family my boyfriend got her pregnant to make herself feel better. Sorry for the weird title. So I met my boyfriend Tim 3.5 years ago. We hit it off. He was great and sweet, and we got along perfectly. Until I introduced him to my family. My mother remarried a few months earlier. I like my stepdad, and we get along fine. My stepsister Sarah, who is 26F, and was friendly but not besties by any means. She is kind of an intense party girl, and being in our 20s we only saw each other at family events. So I introduced Tim to my family, at which point we learned that Sarah used to date Tim when they were 20. It was only a few months and Tim said they broke up because she made out with another guy at a nightclub while drunk. Sarah got upset and started saying I had to break up with him because it was weird. She called Tim her sloppy seconds and tried to get our parents to force us to break up. I said no. It had been years since they'd been together and I didn't even know Sarah when she was dating Tim. I got pretty upset because my family jumped on the bandwagon of saying we should break up. For the past few years at any family gathering, Sarah would mention how they used to date and act like I stole her boyfriend, and has been selling that narrative to my family and friends. But it became obvious that she was jealous. But I liked him, so we just ignored it and kept dating. So now a few years later, Tim and I live together, and we've been talking about marriage and stuff. And I recently had a conversation with my mom about how I thought Tim was going to propose, because he's not exactly subtle and we've talked about this for a while. At which point Sarah, who just moved back in without parents, walked in. She started asking a bunch of invasive questions about our relationship and being weird. Sarah is 4 months pregnant. The father, she said, was some deadbeat guy she'd hooked up with who wants nothing to do with her, but she wants to keep the baby. I'd been making an effort taking her to appointments and offering to help babysit, and trying to be excited for her. Until a week ago when my stepdad sent me a long text saying how I can't marry Tim because he is the real father of Sarah's baby. I was immediately very upset and confronted Tim, who was completely shocked and said Sarah was lying. He said there's no way, and he didn't cheat on me, and he would gladly have a paternity test to prove that. Unsure, I asked Sarah for more details about when they slept together, which she says happened a few times. She was shaky and went back and forth on details. The dates and times don't match up with what I can remember of what Tim and I have been doing. She also said she came to our house to see him, but since COVID I've been working from home. So I can't imagine that they managed that. I'm pretty sure now that she's lying to get us to break up because she's still jealous. But now my family are involved, and have been sending me hateful messages saying I need to break up with Tim and let him be with Sarah. She's telling everyone he's in love with her and I'm keeping him from her. She has no proof and he strictly denied everything. I texted her asking for proof of any of this happening, and she sent me some fake Photoshop screenshots that I can tell are fake, where she put Tim's name over a friend's number and pretended he was messaging her. I checked, and the friend all but admitted it to me and tried to laugh it off. She badly photoshopped the timestamps. I actually don't know what to do now. I believe Tim and we are still together, but this has kind of thrown a wedge in everything. Sarah has poisoned my relationship with our parents and my family. I feel sick to my stomach, and Sarah is now saying she won't give me a paternity test. For now I've cut everyone off except Tim, but I don't know what to do now. Update. I had kind of forgotten about this post, because life has been so hectic. But the baby was born yesterday and reminded me of this. A few people have been asking for updates. I spoke to my parents, and Tim offered to do a paternity test. We gave them an ultimatum to believe me or have me out of their lives. Initially my parents backed Sarah, mostly because she was pregnant and had nobody else. The deadbeat who knocked Sarah up reached out to me privately because he had been sure that he fathered Sarah's baby, as they'd been hooking up at the time, and he wasn't sure what was going on. Sarah told him she was having the pregnancy terminated apparently. Deadbeat reached out to my parents and said he wanted to fully support the child and Sarah. Turns out he's a plumber with a very good income and wants to be a dad to his kid. But he doesn't want to be with Sarah at all. Sarah still won't admit to lying about the affair, but after realizing people weren't falling for it, she switched to faking a mental illness to cover for her deception. I do believe she is mentally unwell, just not in the way she tells it. I have also figured out what a master manipulator she is. She fed my parents tidbits and small lies to make her giant lie seem more credible. Tried to slowly turn them against me so they more easily believed Tim was in love with Sarah. Things are still strained with my family, but I feel I'm making progress, and Sarah has moved on to getting attention for being pregnant sick, so she's not obsessing over Tim anymore. Though I refuse to be around her. Baby was born today. I pray for that little guy. It's going to be a long and difficult life with that mother. My cousin went to visit and sent me a photo of the birth certificate. Father is listed as a deadbeat guy. And finally, Tim did propose, but we're planning a long engagement. Sarah is not invited to the wedding.
Second story.
Boyfriend 29M admitted that I am the oldest girlfriend 21F he's ever had, and now I want to break up with him. It has been a difficult time, to be honest. My world has been turned upside down and I have been reeling from everything that happened. I cannot link to the previous post, but basically my 29-year-old boyfriend nonchalantly admitted to dating a 15-year-old when he was 27 and a 17 when he was 28 before he got with me. I had been staying over at his place for the week, and when I woke up from what I could only describe as a depression nap, he was already in his home office working. I took the opportunity to pack my things and brace myself for what I was about to do. A part of me was still very much in denial of him being a predator, and so I opted to fix breakfast so that I could get him to talk about it more and find out the true extent of these relationships. I brought up his ex whilst we were eating, and he was more than inclined to talk about her. She went to the same high school as his sister 20F, and that is how he met her. My now ex-boyfriend makes a 6-figure salary, and he drives a really flashy car, which he says was the reason she approached him, to check it out. He continued to insist that she threw herself at him, and used him for his money when they finally got together. I asked him about the girl's parents, and he said he met them, and that they clearly didn't like him, but as long as their daughter was happy, they were all right with it. That particular line did me in, but he harped on about how the dad never let him near his other kids, and how much convincing it took for her parents to finally be alright with her sleeping over at his place. He says that they broke up because she found someone wealthier and she dumped him. He apparently met the second girl 17F he dated online. I asked for specifics and he said she lied about her age on Tinder because she was turning 18 soon anyway. She apparently specified this in her bio, and they just clicked, but he was only looking for a rebound, so they didn't really date, they just fucked, his exact words. That apparently lasted a month until she dumped him as well. When I asked him if he prefers girls in that age range, he said for sex, yes. But obviously I want a more mature woman to grow old with, and he looked at me, as if that statement was supposed to somehow reassure me, or make me feel better. I couldn't act passive anymore after that. And I told him I do not think I am the woman he is going to grow old with. An argument ensued and he told me I was a horrible fuck anyways, and how dare you accuse me of such a horrible thing, you're sick. When I told him his proclivity for young girls was not normal, and it might do him some good to get help for it. I grabbed my bags and drove back to my apartment. Hindsight truly is 20/20, because so many red flags are glaring me in the face. I am petite 5'4", 120 pounds, and he always liked how small I was. He constantly commented on it. I am not saying this is wrong. People have preferences, but looking at the entire series of events, this is a bit eerie. There were a few times where he told me I reminded him of his ex, and even though it made me feel uneasy, I just dismissed it as him having a type. I also didn't know at the time that she was a teenager. He has been insistent on me moving in with him and quitting my job, because he makes enough money for both of us to live comfortably, and he made it sound so romantic I was genuinely considering it. I think he might have been trying to isolate me. He already did not like most of my friends. He was also very emotionally manipulative. All the times he has ever guilt-tripped me, or used the things I told him in confidence against me, all came rushing into my mind. I am starting to see how far from perfect our relationship was, and I am sick to my stomach thinking about it all. We are in Washington, and I do not know how I can possibly stop him from doing this to someone else, because I have no evidence, and I am afraid my claims will be dismissed if I report him. I am also concerned about how this will affect the victims in this case. Is it really alright for me to report something on their behalf? I would like some advice on this. The guilt will eat me up if I do nothing.